Quick to judge, slow to change. It's amazing you've survived.
Hello. Where silence has lease. Star Trek Next Generation Series 2 Episode 2 tells the story of the Enterprise getting lost in a strange cloud nebula thing, and the Enterprise just can't leave no matter what they do. It was around this time that the Paramount medic that was assigned to Studio 9 quit his job as he was sick of it. He had been a registered medic for the studio for only 1 year and was fed up of nothing at all happening, so he got a new job at the local cemetery. The position of studio medic was advertised in the Hollywood Reporter and Craigslist. Rick Berman was shocked to the core when he discovered that recently sacked Gates McSomething had applied for the position of studio medic. On her resume, she had claimed that she'd been a doctor for an entire year, but Rick saw through her trick. There is possibly an eye-opening interview where Rick Berman wildly claims that her ultimate plan was to worm her way in as a medic and then she'd try and injure Dr. Pulaski actor with a hideous device. Thank goodness these plans were scuppered, as local medical graduate Bruce Jimmy finally got the position of studio medic and would be called on to save lives over and over again during the next year of production. Actor Earl Bowen plays the strange and powerful life form Nagilum. The original plan was for him to have the strange alien makeup applied by a specialist makeup specialist in a mirror as usual, but an earthquake that week had smashed every mirror in the makeup room, leaving them with a little bit of a problem. To compensate for not having a mirror to aid them in applying the alien makeup, the makeup lady applied the makeup on Earl's face backwards, assuming it would have the same effect as being done using a mirror. The outcome was as hideous as it was life-threatening. Several photos were taken of the disgraceful outcome and quickly locked away, the key buried in the grave of Kenneth Williams, whose grave must never be exhumed by royal decree. The final outcome for Nagilum that made it to the screen was a variation of the new design, but had been peppered with love. The original acting choice for Nagilum was James Earl Jones. Gene Roddenberry wined and dined with the famous lion actor, and he even showed interest for a brief while. When James Earl Jones learned with his ears that Gene Roddenberry wanted to cover up his face and use a cheaper voice actor for the dialogue, James Earl Jones expressed disgust at the role being pointless for him. He obviously didn't understand a damn thing about Star Trek after being wasted all these years on Star Wars. He supposedly left the meeting with Gene Roddenberry after throwing his napkin on the floor and telling Gene he could go to hell and stuff the job.
Why are you so alarmed when I've gone to such trouble to look just like
The distant cousin of an actor, Jonathan Frakes, was born with a number of birthmarks, most crucially one on his face and one on his soft bum. Rick Berman is rumoured to have become irritated at having to look at the small birthmark on Riker's face, and so he needed to tell Frakes to grow a damn beard. As he wasn't very brave, he possibly instructed one of the studio's security guards to hold Riker actor against the wall and threaten him, possibly pointing a finger and raising his voice and fist. Nowadays, no one is sure which wall it was that it was used to hold him up against, but I'm certain that any Star Trek fan worth their salt would like to brush their fingers along that sweet wall's textures and imagine the foolhardy situation that might have happened there. As TriStar Pictures hadn't been neutered yet by its acquisition by Sony in 1989, the company's big hit for 1988, Short Circuit 2, continued its ongoing vendetta with Star Trek. Actor James Crossley from Short Circuit 2 visited Studio 9 at Paramount after lying that he was friends with one of the cruciate actors working on Star Trek. Once he was inside, he sabotaged some of the lighting on the bridge and tried to sow seeds of discontent between the crew of the Enterprise. He told Worf actor Michael Dorn that Marina Sirtis called him a big slug, and told Lever Burton that Whoopi Goldberg had spat on his back when he wasn't looking. Luckily, new cast member Dr. Pulaski had been keeping an eye out on this stranger on the set, and she'd seen that trouble was being caused. She'd had enough of this and grasped James Crosley by the shirt, telling him to get out now before things turn ugly. It didn't take long before she found out exactly who the man was and set about exacting revenge on the actors of Short Circuit 2, elevating the war between Star Trek and Short Circuit 2 to newer and more violent heights. She was possibly heard claiming that Short Circuit has a stupid robot, but Star Trek has a much better robot in the character of Data. In this very episode, Dr. Pulaski goes out of her way to tell the audience that Data is alive, just like Johnny 5 is supposedly alive in Short Circuit. The difference, of course, is that Data looks like a humanoid, whereas Johnny 5 looks like a pile of old toilet rolls. This episode was, of course, remade in Star Trek Voyager with the awful episode The Cloud, where Captain Janeway needs to enter a strange gas cloud nebula because she needs special particles that are inside it so that she can make coffee for the crew now that they've run out. Once inside, they're trapped in the strange gas creature. The silver lining to this remake is that it was only made once. Imagine how upsetting it would be if every 5th Voyager episode was another remake of Where Silence Has Lease. I'd be puking chunks. In a cruel example of art imitating life, this episode is available on Paramount Plus by searching Star Trek The Next Generation, then going to Season 2 and selecting Episode 2. Once the episode is on, watch out for Dr. Pulaski committing the first primetime swear word in TV history. When she and Data can't solve the mystery of Nagilum's genetics, she exclaims, "Shit!" A move Rick Berman insisted on to discredit the actor to the acting community and to make her unpleasant to the fans, who had welcomed her warmly as a great younger model for Gates McSomething. Rick knew that Gene Roddenberry liked Dr. Pulaski a lot, so he wanted to undermine that by getting Dr. Crusher back. Once per episode, he would do something to make the fans turn against the character of Dr. Pulaski. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it would not. Making her walk onto the bridge with a mouthful of wood chippings so that she couldn't say any lines. Making her swear. Making her walk at half the speed of the other characters no matter what. Rick tried his absolute best to manipulate what we think of her. The straw that broke the camel's back, though, was when she was possibly saying to Deanna Troi, "We have nothing in common, and I disrespect you and your people." As you can see with your clean eyes, Worf in Season 2 now has a silver sash and has dispensed with his bargain basement gold fabric sash that he had in Season 1. This new metal-looking sash would stay with him throughout the Star Trek run for the next 10 years, and rumour has it that Worf actor Michael Dorn still parades around with it, like a wrestler wearing a championship belt on a trip to the shop to buy cereal or maybe Pokemon cards. He was once heard saying that he wouldn't let anyone else put it on, except for the person he would marry, like a cross between a large body-sized wedding ring and Cinderella's silly shoe. Each time he would date a lady, he would make them put on the sash for 40 seconds or so. If they didn't wear it with dignity or moral fibre, he would never speak to them again. From this point on, Wesley Crusher is wearing a more sensible outfit, a grey Starfleet outfit, rather than his funny rainbow sweater that he frequently wore in Season 1. The real reason that he doesn't have his rainbow jumper in Season 2, though, is that Wesley Crusher actor had given it to Dr. Crusher actor on her last day as something to remind her of her on-screen son. Upon hearing that he'd given it away, Rick Berman fined Wil Wheaton $2,000 for stealing network property and made it clear to all the other actors in a special meeting that no taking of Star Trek clothes would be tolerated. The exception to this, of course, was Rick Berman's favourite, Deanna Troi. If she took anything, he wouldn't give a damn. This was just another show of his double standards that would go on to make Star Trek more memorable. When the Enterprise is flying through the Nagilum entity, they drop a beacon so that they can track where they are and they can see how fast they're going. Shortly after, a Romulan warbird appears and Worf rasps, "Our shields are weakening!" As the ship fires at them, This is just one of the parts of the episode. There are parts before it and parts after it, and when put together in succession, that makes up the whole story of the episode. Thanks so much for watching my very good facts for When Silence Has Lease, episode 2 of season 2 of Star Trek Next Generation. Next week we have the next one, so please subscribe if you want to, otherwise don't. Thanks very much, I appreciate it. And of course, if you don't agree with some of my facts, please go ahead and comment about it. That's lovely jubbly. Thanks, bye.